Okay, so I have x minus 6 equals negative 5. X minus 6 equals positive 5. Add 6 on both sides. I have x equals 1 and x equals 11. Okay, so...
Wait, isn't it negative 1? Yeah.
No, negative 5 plus 6 is 1.
Yeah.
What? Negative 5 plus 6 is 1.
Oh, I did it the other way.
So you got negative 1? That's wrong. C.
Again. Yeah. I thought it was B.
Whatever small that is, will you silence it?
B is x minus 5 equals 6. Again.
What?
B was x minus 5.
X minus... Oh no. It's right, similar but not the same.
Yeah, I thought it was still on B.
Okay, let's go to, so we're gonna we can come back and do D, E, and F, but I wanna go to the next page. We're like, how do you actually complete the square? What does this look like? So, example 3. What value of C will make each expression a perfect square trinomial? So I'm looking, what should C be? So this is a perfect square trinomial. Think about how we solve this. To make it a perfect square trinomial, C should be, so ideally, what's half of the middle number?
7 times negative 7.
Is negative 7. So I want this to be a perfect square trinomial, meaning an x minus 7 times an x minus 7. So what is negative 7 squared?
49.
49. C should be 49, so that way it'd be a perfect square trinomial. Try out B without saying anything out loud. I want you to try it yourself. Try out B by yourself.
So is the A, B, C, D, E, and F underneath all this?
A, B, C, D, E, F. No. So example 3 is completing the square. Like, we haven't gotten to like the meat of it yet. I'm trying to get there. Just the first step is, how do we actually find what the C value should be? What should this C value be? 81. How do you tell? How can you tell?
You divide it by 2, and then you do the x thing, or you can just multiply, or just square it.
Right.
So do the x's and the parentheses?
No.
No.
So I see that like half of my middle would be x plus 9. So half of my middle number, half of 18 is 9. So if I have x plus 9 times x plus 9, like I want it to be a perfect square binomial. I want it to be the same factor twice. So middle I have 9. If I square it, it should be 81. C should be 81. All right, so now this is completing the square. This is the process. What is the difference? You have not even seen the real thing yet, Dylan. Give me 2 seconds. I've been prepping you for success this whole time. You can't just be like, what's the difference if I haven't done it yet? Okay, complete the square. First step, move the 24 to the other side. Move the C to the other side. Then I rewrite it as x squared minus 10x plus mystery number equals negative 24 plus mystery number. The mystery number here is...
It's the same.
You haven't even seen the whole thing yet.
Pause. Please just wait. Yes, but it's not, but we are completing the square. It doesn't say solve by factoring, it says solve completing the square. If you solve by factoring, 0 points. This is a new method called completing the square. So please, just wait. I'm showing you the method. Okay. So, are you ready? This portion right here is just like what we did up here. What value? What's my mystery number? What should I add? So that way, the stuff in the parentheses would be a perfect square trinomial.
12.
So, ready? What is half of negative 10? Negative 5. And what is 5 squared? 25, right? Negative 5 squared is 25. So I put 25 here. But what you do to one side, you must do to the other. You have to do to the other. That's why I have to add it to both sides. That way it's even. It's like a teeter-totter seesaw. You can't just add everything on one side. You have to do it to both, so it's even. Now I can rewrite my left side as x minus 5 squared. I can rewrite it as a perfect square trinomial. No, not that's it. Equals negative 24 plus 25 is 1. So if I'm trying to, what?
How will we know which method to use?
She'll tell us.
So we have to solve using completing the square. So now that I have this, it's just like what we were doing in the previous example before that. I have x minus 5 squared equals a number. How do I get x by itself? I need to square root both sides. So I have x minus 5 equals plus or minus 1. So one of my solutions is x minus 5 equals negative 1. The other solution is x minus 5 equals positive 1. So I see x is equal to 4, x is equal to 6. So this is how you solve by completing the square. You make one of them into a perfect square trinomial. Let's go through this process again. On your test, there will be one question where it specifies solving using completing the square. So please, whoever that is, like, silence it. I should go check. Okay. So, first thing I'm going to do, subtract the 25 from both sides. So, I have x squared plus 12x plus mystery number is going to equal negative 25 plus mystery number, because I want to rewrite the left side as a perfect square trinomial. So, what number should be my mystery I'm adding to both sides? What number is half of 12? 6. And that squared is going to be 36. So I'm going to add 36 to both sides. And I do this so that I can rewrite the left side as x plus 6 squared. And I can say the right side is going to be 9. Because ideally, I want to write this right here as a perfect square trinomial, meaning having the same two. Are they having a hora? Are they like doing this again?
No.
We're doing a dance.
A hora, not again. I already said no. What's going on here?
How do you even work with it?
All right, so what we've been doing so far is to get you to this moment.
Oh.
Rewrite the left side as a perfect square trinomial. And I have x plus 6 squared on the left equals 9. I have to get x by itself. What do?
You do it again.
Square root x plus 6 equals plus or minus 3. And then split it. So I have x plus 6 equals 3. X plus 6 equals negative 3. Cool. And since I'm trying to make this as straightforward as possible. So my goal on the test is to give you ones that are nice integer numbers. There's only so many ways I can ask you of this. X equals negative 3 and x equals negative 9. Coolio. Okay. Try out C. Do it the way we've been doing it. Yeah, I am going to do it. I just want you guys to give it a shot yourself. Yes.
You just have to leave it.
So the way it is.
So you
Or
have
do I
x
x plus 1?
x equals negative 1 plus or minus 1.
Why do they teach us in algebra 1 so we get in algebra 2?
Review. This is review.
But we never reviewed geometry.
So what this means is you should be getting hundreds on your test. This is review. So first step, we're going to move this to the other side. Now I have x squared plus 2x plus mystery number equals negative 2 plus mystery number. I would like to write this as a perfect square trinomial. What is half of 2? 1. So I'd like to write this as x plus 1 times x plus 1. Right? So ideally I'd like to write it as x plus 1 squared, because it means I have the same factor from both. Half of 2 is 1. Half the middle number.
2 divided by 2 is 1, right?
Yeah.
So
1 squared is
1 is 1. So the
1.
number is 1.
Oh, it's
Oh.
gonna be the same number for both mysteries?
It's 0, right?
No, but then it's negative 1. It's negative 2 plus 1 is negative.
So I didn't see there was a negative 2 on the other side.
Oh my god.
So talking to her, talking to Elizabeth.
Oh, it is a negative 2.
Yeah. So when I saw your 3, I didn't look at my solutions yet. Okay, so I can rewrite the whole left side as x plus 1 squared, and it's going to equal negative 1.
Square x plus 1 equals I.
So square root both sides, plus or minus I. Yeah, so I have x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus I.
I don't know how you get the mystery numbers.
So, do you understand how I was finding the C value up here for example 3? So I take the middle number, divide by 2, and that gives me what each number I put in my factor is. Then if I square that number, I get what the last one would be. So negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7, and then negative 7 squared is positive 49. So down here, I have 2x in the middle. Half of 2 is 1, right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. If you take 1 and square it, 1 squared is 1. So I put 1 in for my mystery number.
But there's 2 mystery numbers. So is it gonna be
It's the same number. You put the same number into both. Because what you add to one side, you have to add to the other. Right? So you put it the same. It would be the same number on both sides. Same way here, you put the same number. Okay. So I have, let's see, x plus 1 equals plus or minus I. So I have x equals negative 1 plus or minus I. Cool. Because if you just have square root negative 1, that's I. But since I'm taking the square root, I am taking the square root. I didn't give you square root negative 1, I'm taking, right? I am putting the square root on there. That's why you have to do the plus or minus. So you know root negative 1, so you know
be a negative 1, then it can't just be x equals plus or minus I.
there isn't it. Because I have to subtract this 1 to the other side. It's x plus 1 equals that. So I have to subtract the 1 to the other side.
Wait. So for all of them, if it's in the square root, if it was negative 3.
If it was negative 3, you would have negative 1 plus or minus root 3i.
What if it was 20?
Positive 20? Then you could simplify and say 2 root 5. So you could say whatever number plus or minus 2 root 5. Okay, so let's try the next one. First step, subtract this number to the other side. Okay, so I have x squared plus 4x plus the number that would make this a perfect square trinomial equals negative 11 plus the number that would make this a perfect square trinomial. So, okay, our middle number is 4. What is half of 4? 2. What is 2 squared? 4. My mystery number I plug in is 4. So I get x plus 2 squared equals negative 7. Ooh, got another negative here. If I square root both sides, so notice I didn't just give you square root negative 7. I am taking the square root negative 7. Right? The root was not on there. We are putting it on the paper so we can solve. So that means we have to include plus minus. So x plus 2 equals plus or minus root negative 7. So that's the same thing as saying plus or minus I root 7. So if I subtract 2 from both sides, x is going to be negative 2 plus or minus I root 7.
Why are you using the I for
Because I have a
Because
negative
that's
under a
square
radical.
root number.
Shh, wait. I have a negative under the radical. Yeah, and so I can take the negative out of the radical by just saying I, because square root negative 1 is I.
Did you do plus and minus I square root 7?
Plus or minus, so plus minus I root 7 minus 2. This is fine. It's just I personally like the plus or minus in the middle. That way I don't forget.